Namosute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, today we have the great fortune to discuss the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. Tomorrow is the most auspicious day in our Vedic calendar, and it is the appearance of Lord Nityananda Balaram, Nityananda Trayodasi. So, with the mercy of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Guru Parampara and Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, will pray that we can have some nice discussion today. So we'll read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Adi Lila Chapter 5, and we'll read verses 5 and 6. And we'll also read a little bit from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this is in preparation for this auspicious festival today, or tomorrow. We have to make space in our heart and space in our mind to meditate on the pastimes of Lord Nityananda in welcoming him and celebrating his appearance tomorrow. So, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So this is the auspicious prayer we chant before reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami opens almost every chapter with this verse, and it reads, all glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'll read text 5 and 6. Well, I'll read text 4 too, because there's some context to it. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the primeval Lord and the original form of Godhead. And his first expansion is Sri Balaram. The personality of Godhead can expand himself in innumerable forms. The forms that have unlimited potency are called Swamsha. And the forms that have limited potencies, the living entities, are called Vibhinamsha. Text 5. These two are one and in the same identity. They differ only in form. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Purport. Balaram is a Swamsha expansion of the Lord, and therefore there is no difference in potency between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is in their bodily structure. And as the first expansion of Godhead, Balaram is the chief deity among the first quadruple forms, and he is the foremost assistant of Sri Krishna in his transcendental activities. Text 6. That original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. So here Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is establishing who is Lord Nityananda. So who is Lord Nityananda?
Lord Balaram.
And is not an expansion of Lord Balaram. It is Lord Balaram himself appearing. Just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an incarnation of Krishna. It is Krishna himself appearing. So that is the distinction. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself appearing in the mood of a devotee. And Lord Nityananda is Lord Balaram appearing as Lord Nityananda. So this is what is being established here in this beginning chapter. So I just wanted to read this is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. How many of you have Chaitanya Bhagavat? Anybody? How many have Chaitanya Charitamrita? Many of you. Hopefully the rest of you will acquire it, be so inspired after hearing these glorious pastimes as we approach Gaura Purnima. So this is from chapter 12, Madhya Kand, again of Chaitanya Bhagavat, and this is text 26. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describing the glories of Lord Nityananda. Simply by the mercy of Nityananda, one obtains devotional service of Vishnu. Know it for certain that Nityananda is the full potency of Krishna. And this is the purport. Mahaprabhu said, quote, you should know Nityananda Prabhu as the complete potency of Lord Krishna. He is the topmost among the servants of Krishna. Only by his mercy can one achieve devotion to Vishnu. He is the form of Vishnu presiding over the Sandhini potency. Although he is Lord Vishnu himself, he nevertheless serves the supreme Vishnu. He serves the origin of all Vishnu tattvas. Only by his mercy is the living entity's propensity for worshipping Hari awakened. In his form as younger sister of Radharani, Sri Nityananda Prabhu nourishes conjugal mellows. That is why Sri Narottam Das Thakur has said, Hene nitai vine bai, Radha Krishna paite nai, Dridda kari dara, nitayara paya. Some of you must know that verse. We'll be hearing it tomorrow. And the translation is, unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. As the supreme Jagat Guru, Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the origin of Guru Tattva. In regards to the devotee Jagat Guru, the spiritual master is an incarnation of Sri Nityananda, who is the manifestation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The spiritual master is most dear to Lord Krishna because, like Sri Nityananda, he is also a manifestation of Sri Chaitanya, and he is renowned to be as good as Nityananda. The travelers on the path of devotional service do not accept identification of Nityananda's family through seminal consideration. Stop there. So, we see that, again, who is Lord Nityananda?
Balaram.
And who is Lord Balaram? Who is Lord Balaram? Krishna, Lord, his elder brother. So Lord Balaram is the first expansion from Krishna. the first. Srila Prabhupada refers to Lord Balaram in Srimad Bhagavatam also as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they are non-different in potency. Their only difference, one has a dark monsoon cloud hue, and one has a very fresh spring cloud hue. One is darkish in complexion, and one is whitish in complexion. That is the only difference between Krishna and Balaram. And from Lord Balaram come all of the other expansions. Who are the other expansions? We have Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu. We have Anantashesh, Shankarshana. All of the different avatars, they come through the line of Lord Balaram. We have the Dasa avatars is our just summary of the avatars. There are unlimited avatars. So Lord Balaram is the source of all other incarnations, all other expansions. And Lord Balaram is Guru Tattva, which means he is the original Guru, spiritual master. And from him, all other Gurus expand from. They are representatives of Lord Balaram. So Lord Nityananda is this same Lord Balaram. So we know that in order to acquire success in devotional service, we need the mercy of Guru. Guru is the teacher and the guide who brings the mercy of Krishna to us. Anything we have learned in life, we've always needed a teacher. And in spiritual life, that teacher is the Guru. And Guru connects us to Krishna via a transparent via medium, as Srila Prabhupada says. He connects in our heart a pipe. On one end of the pipe is our heart, and on the other end of the pipe is the lotus feet of Krishna. And the Guru connects us to receive the mercy of Krishna. And Lord Balaram is our Param Guru. And so, in order to approach Krishna, we must approach through Guru. And Lord Nityananda has extraordinary mercy as Guru Tattva. So we can understand by very simple logic, to approach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we need the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Just like if you are going to see some, king or president of some country, you have to go through some chain of command. Someone who knows, 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 someone. Like that, we approach Krishna through Guru Parampara. Because they have seen the truth, Tattva Darshinaha, they can reveal it to us. Someone who has seen the king, knows the king, can then introduce us to the king. Similarly, Guru, who knows Krishna, who has seen Krishna, can introduce us to Krishna. So, Guru Tattva is very, very important in our process of devotional service. And now let us understand the position of Lord Nityananda and why we must pray to his feet for his mercy. So the highest progress, the highest position one can reach in devotional service is reaching the Golok Vrindavan, the sweet eternal pastimes of Sri Vrindavan Dham. The devotees who serve Krishna in Vrindavan Dham are considered the highest in their love and intensity of love for Krishna. Highest in their intensity of surrender and highest in their intensity of purity. These are the Ragatmika Bhaktas, the devotees of Vrindavan. And Krishna comes, as he did 5,000 years ago, and performs many pastimes. And by us observing these pastimes, reading about these pastimes, it may inspire in our heart a desire to also render service to Krishna in this similar mood. Srila Prabhupada was so anxious to reveal these pastimes to inspire us to reach the highest goal. Like any loving father, they want to give the best to their children. And Srila Prabhupada then, he translated Krishna book, which is the storybook version of 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, even before completing the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because just in case, if he did not finish, he wanted to make sure that we would all have the fortune of understanding these pastimes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us this highest, greatest treasure, which is the loving service mood following in the footsteps of the devotees of Sri Vrindavan Dham. That is what he came to give us. And there is nothing more one can achieve. And he gave it Mahavadanaya, very mercifully, very compassionately, very magnanimously. He did not keep it so tightly guarded. He distributed it widely. But actually, one cannot receive that knowledge, receive that mercy, without first receiving the mercy of Lord Nityananda. That's why Narottam Das Thakur says, unless one takes a shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. So our service is dependent on obtaining the mercy of Lord Nityananda. He holds the key to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Lord Nityananda is the personification of Mahaprabhu's love for Krishna. That is Lord Nityananda. And we say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful. But as we'll see today, Lord Nityananda is even more merciful, even more compassionate, and more loving. Of unlimited, then you say more, it's impossible to understand. But this is the transcendental nature. So this is Lord Nityananda. And we have to be careful that we understand the importance of Lord Nityananda. To think, I'm going to approach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I don't need Lord Nityananda, is very dangerous. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother held such logic that he did not pay respects to Lord Nityananda. But he was a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said, this is foolish, and severely chastised him. And he said, this is half-hen logic. And what is the half-hen logic? One man had a hen, a very wonderful hen. And each day it would lay a golden egg, an egg made of gold. And so as each day passed, his wealth was growing and growing and growing. He was very happy. But as anyone's wealth grows, we know what ensues is the feeling of greed. It's not enough. And he was thinking, this egg is coming, but unfortunately, I have to spend some money to feed this hen. I have to put food into the mouth, and out the other end comes the egg. It'd be so nice if I didn't have to take entering the food and just took the hen. So better I chop off the head and I'll get the eggs. And so I don't have to spend the money. Not realizing that by chopping off the head, he is losing the potential of these eggs. Like that, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, if you try to worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without first approaching the shelter of Lord Nityananda. That is half-hand logic. That is not good logic. So Lord Nityananda is our eternal shelter and pathway to accessing the supreme mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is giving us this highest mood of bhakti. And we're going to see how Lord Nityananda can give this highest form of bhakti in an instant. From the lowest of lowest, instantly they can obtain the highest platform of intimate service with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of the Vrindavan devotees. Sometimes we wonder how long it will take for me. We'll see if we have obtained the mercy of Lord Nityananda. We see in our acharyas, last week we discussed the pastimes of Raghunath Das Goswami. Repeatedly his attempt to go and meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was flailed. Until he went and fell at the feet of Lord Nityananda in Panihati. Then, having the feet of Lord Nityananda on his head, he was then blessed. And immediately, very soon thereafter, he attained the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were to first meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Ramkeli, first they went and offered their pranams to Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda brought them to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Their desire in their heart was to receive the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But they knew what we have to learn, which is, it is received through the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So, now with some understanding of who is Lord Nityananda as our Guru Tattva, the source of all gurus, instrumental in our progress in devotional life, and the key for which we can access the treasure of this devotional service in the mood of Vrindavan. Let us discuss a little bit about Lord Nityananda. So, Lord Nityananda appeared in the town of Ekachakra. This is about 4 to 5 hours north of Mayapur in Bengal, in the area of Radhadesh. Anybody has been to Ekachakra? So, it's a very beautiful place. He appeared 12 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the home of two extraordinary Vaishnavas, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati. And he was like Lord Krishna and Balaram were to the residents of Vrindavan, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to the residents of Navadvip. He was the life and soul of all the residents of Ekachakra. Everything revolved around this most wonderful Nitai. That was his name growing up. And he performed many, many wonderful things. One of his famous things was that he would perform all the different pastimes of Krishna, Lord Ram, and different avatars. And he would perform these pastimes in dramas with exquisite detail, shocking detail. Once they were replaying the pastime of Akrura, taking Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. And as they are going, Lord Nityananda playing Balaram is crying and crying and crying in separation. And the young boy playing Akrura turns around, "Are you okay?" So real were these dramas. They would play the drama of Vasudevji and Devaki in the prison house. They would build a prison house, and then they would bring a baby, and they would carry the baby in a basket across the river. They would not do anything fake. Everything had to be realistic. Even they would do these pastimes at midnight, much to the concern of parents. So like this, he performed all these pastimes. And the residents of Ekachak were always astonished that how Lord Nityananda knew all of these details of these pastimes. There were no books
in the town of Ekachakra describing these pastimes. There was no Google at that time, so the internet was not accessible. So how he knew? And he would simply tell the residents of Ekachakra, these are my own pastimes. Of course I know them. So dumbfoundedly, how you could ask? So like this, he performed many, many sweet pastimes. And everybody loved Lord Nityananda more than even their own children. They were just fully engaged in loving relationship with Lord Nityananda in this beautiful town of Ekachakra. So after some years passed, he was a young boy, he was the age of 12 years old. And at this time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had then appeared in Navadvip. So Lord Nityananda appeared 12 years prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at this time, Lord Nityananda began to think how I can go and join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his mission. Immediately he wanted to leave the home. And by divine arrangement, one great sannyasi, traveling sannyasi, came to Ekachakra, and Hadai Pandit, being a very pious man and great devotee, invited him home, served him very nicely. They had very wonderful Krishna Katha. And after the day had passed and night had passed in this way, Hadai Pandit, being very pleased, said, what can I offer you as, Dakshina? Donate, you are a traveling sannyasi. What can I offer you? Whatever you see is yours. In that way, the sannyasi said, well, I have no need of anything. I am a renunciate. But I'm going on travels of all the spiritual places of India, and I could use someone to travel with me. So please give me your son. And Hadai Pandit was struck. We know the pain Dasharath Raj felt when he heard of the need to banish Ram to the forest. Like that, Hadai Pandit was struck. How I could be in separation of my beloved Nityananda. But he had offered anything. And so Lord Nityananda left. Didn't even look back to see. He was on his mission. And the whole town of Ekachakra slowly dried up in separation from Lord Nityananda. Said Hadai Pandit and Padmatavati for 3 months could not even eat. They were just in separation. But this mood of separation, it seems painful, but actually it is very sweet. And it is not something one can understand until one experiences it. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita is explained that how this separation, it feels almost like torture. How it can be sweet. It explains like this. You cannot understand how putting ice on the skin can feel hot until you put the ice on and it becomes so cold that it actually burns. Like that. This separation, this mood of separation is the highest, most intense love. So like this, the whole town of Ekachakra was put into ecstasy through this mood of separation from Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda, for the next 20 years, traveled all throughout India, visited all the holy places, was purifying all the holy places with his presence. And like this, they traveled, and they ultimately ended up in Vrindavan. Along the way, it is said that he took initiation from Lakshmipati Tirtha, who was the spiritual master of Madhavendra Puri, who was the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri, who was the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, he also had good association with Madhavendra Puri. And so he took residence in Vrindavan. And he was waiting very patiently for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to finally call him. 20 years had passed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had appeared in the home of Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra in Navadvip. And all of his early childhood pastimes were carrying on. His early youth of being a student and then teaching was carrying on. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached 20 years on this planet, then he called for Lord Nityananda to come from Vrindavan to Navadvip. And what he called them for? To inaugurate the Sankirtana movement. It was at this point that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established that now this Sankirtana movement should go out into the streets and this preaching movement should begin. And so he called his eternal associate, Lord Nityananda. And there is a very sweet description in this Chaitanya Bhagavat of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda met in the home of Nandanacharyas. It was an overwhelming experience of ecstasy for both of them. The associates were just in awe watching the interaction of the first meeting. You can imagine Lord Nityananda anxiously waiting to see his beloved Lord Krishna as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the exchange was very, very sweet. Just one pastime of that exchange. Lord Nityananda, in seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, faints and becomes unconscious. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks Srivas Pandit to recite some verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that were very poignant and very related to this topic. And in this way, slowly, by continuing recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Nityananda was awakened. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Lord Nityananda in his lap. And then one of the devotees is commenting, isn't this interesting? Because normally, Krishna is lying, or Vishnu is lying on Ananta Shesh. Lord Balaram is Ananta Shesh. But now, Lord Balaram is sitting in the lap of Lord Krishna. Lord Nityananda is sitting in the lap of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like this, many, many pastimes took place. We'll come back to some pastimes. I'm just covering a short biographical sketch of Lord Nityananda, and then we'll maybe discuss some of his pastimes. So, 4 years they stayed in Navadvip. We'll come back to some of the activities during these 4 years. And after 24 years on this planet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And Lord Nityananda went with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they went to Katwa and they performed the sannyas ceremony. And from there, they go, as we know, Lord Nityananda led him to Shantipur under the guise of going to Vrindavan. Some of you know all these pastimes, so we'll skip some of them. And ultimately they reached Jagannath Puri. And there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed for some time, and then he embarked on his southern tour of India. And Lord Nityananda stayed back in Jagannath Puri and began cultivating all of the different devotees, establishing, the mission that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would then return to. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Puri, it was then that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Lord Nityananda a very big favor. And not one we can imagine he was eager to do, but eager to do because it was the instruction of Krishna. And he said, I have taken sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, and I am spreading the glories. But we are here, but the whole area of Bengal is suffering in its preaching mood, and someone must go and reach all of the different grahastas. So please enter grahasta ashram and continue on your preaching mission in the grahasta ashram. Now Lord Nityananda was he was acting like an avadut. We cannot understand that with our contaminated minds. What is an avadut? But we can understand it in very general terms, meaning he was fully in ecstasy in devotional service, fully imbued in Krishna prema. So much so that he lost care or concern for his bodily condition or situation. So sometimes he would do things that externally would seem very strange, very unusual. But internally we understand it was driven by his complete absorption in Krishna prema. So from that state to enter Grahastha ashram, one has to require some discipline, some control. Prabhuji's know, entering Grahastha ashram, we cannot act so and so. We must mature up a little bit. So like that, Lord Nityananda agreed, he accepted Grihastha ashram, and he was reunited with his eternal consorts, Janavadevi and Vishuddha. They are the Revati and I'm forgetting the other name. The eternal consorts of Lord Balaram. Anyways, so like that, and he had some children, and he carried on the preaching mission. And this carried on for many years. And then after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu completed his pastimes in Jagannath Puri and ultimately left after 48 years, he entered the deity of Tota Gopinath in Jagannath Puri. Lord Nityananda returned back to Ekachakra, and there he had established one deity of Bankim Rai. And the pujaris explained that Lord Nityananda, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the deity of Tota Gopinath, Lord Nityananda entered the deity of Bankim Rai and wrapped up his pastimes here on this earth. Okay, that's just a short summary, synopsis of Lord Nityananda's time here. So there are many, many sweet pastimes of Lord Nityananda. So we can discuss a few of them in the time remaining. Some of them, most of them you've probably already heard. But what we have understood is hearing the pastimes of the Lord never tire. It is like the gift that keeps on giving. It is unlimited and eternal. So, Lord Nityananda in Navadvip, when he reached Navadvip, I explained he was in this avaduta mood. He was completely absorbed in Krishna prema. And so again, externally doing very funny things. And Lord Nityananda has this very humorous demeanor to him. He and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are always joking with each other. He and Haridas Thakur are always joking. There's always this humor that Lord Nityananda is performing. So that is one aspect. But one of his aspects of his pastimes in Navadvip specifically, he was staying in the home of Srivas Thakur. And there, Srivas Thakur and his wife Malini Devi were like mother and father to Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda took a very son-like mood in their home. And so extreme was this mood that Lord Nityananda would not even eat on his own. And Malini Devi would prepare foodstuffs and she would feed him with her own hands. This is a very sweet, sweet exchange between Malini Devi and Lord Nityananda. And he was staying in that home, we know, in Srivas Thakur's home, Srivas Angan. That is where the very ecstatic and private kirtans of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took place. And there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would always warn Nityananda, now control yourself. Don't get out of control in the home of Srivas Thakur. These are grahastas. Do not do anything crazy. And Lord Nityananda would say, you're always controlling me and telling me what to do. Stop. I cannot control these emotions. And like that, these exchanges would take place. So once, Malini Devi was attending to some things in the home, and one crow came. And the crow came and took this bell metal bowl. And this bowl was used to hold the ghee in the worship. Srivas Thakur was doing very wonderful home worship, showing us the ideal grahastha life. And so Malini Devi became very disturbed. Oh no, this very important article for the worship of Krishna has now been taken away by this crow. What to do? If Srivas Thakur finds out, he's going to be very, very upset, very angry. So how I can try to break this news to him? And so she was distraught and crying and crying. And Lord Nityananda came and he could not tolerate his dear mother relationship. Why are you crying? And she explained, this crow has come back, but he took my bowl. And so Lord Nityananda looks at the crow and says, and the crow left. And a few minutes later, the crow comes back with the bowl. And Maya Devi is like perplexed. And she faints in ecstasy. How this crow how Lord Nityananda communicated with the crow. And this bowl came back. And like that, she fainted. And then she woke up from her ecstatic faint. And she says, what is so miraculous? So what is so miraculous about this? You and your brother Krishna, when the sons of your guru were deceased, you went to the other planetaries and retrieved their children from the dead. If you were able to offer that as Guru Dakshina to Sandipani Muni, what is the big deal of this bowl being returned by the crow? You, as Ananta Shesh, are holding unlimited number of universes on your hood. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur describes in the beginning of Chaitanya Bhagavat that Ananta Shesh is so gigantic and powerful that the entire universe is contained in like one bubble, right? And within this universe there are millions and millions of planets. We think sometimes about, Lord Krishna holding Govardhan and how he hold it with his left hand, left finger. And we think, maybe, is it hard? I don't know, I can't even hold this book for 7 minutes. How I can hold? But Ananta Shesh is holding not just Govardhan, millions and millions of planets contained within one universe. And how many universes? Unlimited universes. And these universes are so insignificant to Ananta Shesh that he doesn't even know where they are on his hoods. And so Maya Devi would say, you're holding universes like that, so what is the big deal of bringing one metal bowl? She says, in your pastimes of Lakshman, you almost single-handedly destroyed the whole family of Ravana with your arrows. What is the big deal of bringing one bowl? And like this, she continues to glorify the great Lord Nityananda for this activity of bringing back this bowl for her. In this way, we understand the position of Lord Nityananda. This verse we read, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is glorifying Lord Nityananda. I'll read the verse again. Simply by the mercy of Nityananda, one attains devotional service of Vishnu. Know it for certain that it is full potency of Krishna. So who is he speaking to? He is speaking to all the associates that had gathered in the home of Srivas Thakur. So one time, Lord Nityananda came, and he came in his ecstatic mood, and let's just say, he had some of his cloth. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grabbed that cloth, gave him some other cloth, and he began tearing pieces of this cloth. And he told all the devotees that you take this cloth and you put it on your head. And they were like, really? We should put this cloth on our head? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins to describe, like this verse, like this. The characteristics of Nityananda are incomprehensible to the Veda. He is the origin, protector, friend of all living entities. His dealings are full of transcendental mellows for Krishna. Just by serving him, one attains devotional service to Lord Krishna. Again, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explaining why these devotees should put this cloth of Lord Nityananda, wrap it around their head. The devotees then were encouraged to drink the water that had washed the feet of Lord Nityananda. And then someone said, today my life has become successful. Someone else said, today my material bondage is vanquished. Someone else said, today I have become a servant of Krishna. So like this, many devotees were enthused by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Once, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was honoring Prasad with his consort Vishnupriya in the home of Sachimata. And Sachimata was serving them some foodstuffs, nice foodstuffs. And, whenever there's a nice meal happening, who may happen to wander in? Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda comes in. He comes in his avadut state. I won't describe. But he becomes in his ecstatic state, and Sachimata becomes very pleased. Because when Sachimata is hearing Lord Nityananda speak, she is hearing her elder son Vishwarup, who had left, taken sannyas, and she was missing very dearly. And so in this way, she was very happy to serve. And so she sat Lord Nityananda down and served him some sweets, sandesh. And she offered him 5 sweets. And he ate one, and he took the other 4 and he threw them out. And Sachimata said, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And in his transcendental mood, he said, "You can't serve me all at once." And she said, "Well, what am I going to do now? That is all I have to feed you." And she became anxious. She had anxiety. And so Lord Nityananda became a little bit like, "Oh, I better undo this." So Sachimata goes out to try to find these sandesh. And she was shocked. Yet all of them were completely intact. Now, how many of us could drop a sandesh and see it intact? She was shocked. And so she dusted them off and brought them back. But when she returned, Lord Nityananda had the 4 sandesh in his plate, and he was eating them. And Sachimata said, What happened?" She said, "Oh, Sachimata, you were upset that I threw the sandesh, so I brought them back." In this way, Lord Nityananda and Sachimata also had very, very sweet interactions. There are many different pastimes of Sachimata. Once had a dream that Krishna and Balaram had come and eaten her offerings. And then Lord Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are eating her offerings, so we won't go into that pastime. So now we'll discuss one very important activity of Lord Nityananda, and is very instrumental and integral in our understanding and practice of devotional service. And we see many qualities that will be exemplified in this series of pastimes of Lord Nityananda. These are not for entertainment purposes, but these are for trying to understand what is being taught to us by our great acharyas. As Guru Tattva, Lord Nityananda is showing us the path to devotional service. So see how he is showing it to us. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided that it was time to now propagate Krishna consciousness broadly, he was very intimately practicing the Harinam Sankirtan with his associates in Shiva Sangam. They would lock the doors and have ecstatic kirtans all night. And then during the day, back to, I don't know what's going on. Like that, they were doing it under closed cover. But now it was time to open the door and spread Krishna Prema everywhere. And so he asked his 2 chief preaching leaders, Srila Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda, to work as a team and begin preaching. You can imagine this team. Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur preaching. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told them that I want you to go door to door and preach this message of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And each day I want you to come back and give me the report of what you did. So Lord Nityananda, Haridas Thakur saying the order of my beloved Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is my life. And so they went out. And they would go door to door, knocking on the door. Now normally when 2 sannyasis go begging door to door, they're begging for something. So they would knock on the door, and the people would open the door and offer them some lunch or food stuff. They said, "We're not here to take anything. We are here to give Krishna Prema. Please chant, please chant, please chant." And like this, they would beg. If necessary, they would fall to their knees and beg, please chant. Lord Nityananda would take a straw from the street and clench it between his teeth, the ultimate sign of humility. This is Lord Balaram. This is the source of Shankarshana, of Mahavishnu, of all the Brahmanda, all the spiritual world. And he is taking a straw between his teeth, begging us to chant the holy names of the Lord. So much mercy, so much compassion. Door to door they would go. Sometimes they would be received very favorably and very nicely. And people would begin chanting. Sometimes they would say that we are also becoming mad with the association of a madman like Lord Nityananda. Madman in ecstasy of Krishna. But sometimes they were also harassed. When they went to some of the homes of people who were not allowed in the kirtan, when they opened the door and saw them, they would yell, beat them, beat them, beat them. And they would have to flee for their safety. Sometimes they would go to some homes and they would be accused of being spies for thieves, looking to see what's in the home, and later the thieves would come. When I read that, I found that interesting. Because when Srila Prabhupada took the devotees back to India, the Indian government and the Indian public, they thought all these Americans who are dressed in robes and practicing Krishna consciousness, they are not devotees, they are CIA agents. They are spies. So it looks like that accusation started way back in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even there, some of the householders were claiming them to be spies. But like this, they persevered. And Lord Nityananda says, I have no fear because I am under the protection of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So sometimes in our preaching efforts, we may receive nice warm welcomes. And we may receive a few not so warm welcomes. But whatever it is, we should carry on. Lord Nityananda said, it is not up to me whether they chant or not. That is between them and Krishna. My mission is just to repeat the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is between them and Krishna. Showing us the perfect mood of how we should spread the message. We may think, oh, I'm not qualified, oh, I don't know. When you will be qualified to speak on Krishna? Never. But you can simply repeat what has been spoken, and whether it works or not is not up to us. That is between them and Krishna. Success or failure is not our responsibility, is what Lord Nityananda said. So like that, he carried on his preaching mission with great enthusiasm. And this mission takes us to the very famous pastime of, what's the most famous pastime of? We cannot have a class on Lord Nityananda without discussing the pastime of? Okay, so how many have not heard the pastime of Jagai and Madai? Just so I know how much detail to go into. Several? Okay, many of you. Okay. So we'll do a little bit of both. We'll go into some details. Also, some other things that maybe others have not heard. So, Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, like this, were carrying on, going door to door, distributing their mercy to anyone and everyone. And once they were walking down the street and they saw a scene they could not even digest, could not even understand. Two fairly fat men were walking down the middle of the street, but they were walking like this. And they were fully drunk in the middle of the day. And they were punching each other and shoving each other and like, oh, what is this? Instead of asking, what is this coming down the street? And the people are saying, just run, don't ask any questions. Just go away. This is Jagai and Madai. Who are they? They are the sons of very nice Brahmins, but they have clearly fallen off that path. And they are the most heinous. They are so dangerous. There is not a home that they have entered that they have not plundered and burned to the ground. They are killing animals. They are drinking. They're committing unlimited amount of sins. They're so dangerous. As they're walking down the street, all the shops were closing their doors, closing the shutters. People were jumping into the bushes, trying to hide from them. Because whoever got in their way was completely destroyed. So Lord Nityananda is looking at this and thinking, wow, these are two interesting characters. Let us go preach. Why not? Haridas Thakur was a little bit nervous. And Nityananda says, Haridas Thakur, you were being beaten in 22 marketplaces. And what were you doing the whole time you were being beaten? You were praying, please forgive these people who are beating me. Please forgive these people who are beating me. You had so much compassion for the people who were physically beating you. Won't you have compassion for these two? Okay, let's go. So like this, Haridas Thakur was convinced. And Lord Nityananda had a mission, had a desire. He knew that if these two people could be delivered, then people would have faith in the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message could deliver these two, he wasn't thinking, oh, let me go try to deliver them. Let me go back and report to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how great of a fallen person. No. He said to show the potency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message, these two people who, if somebody fell into their shadow, they would take bath in the Ganges with all their clothes to purify from that association. Just by falling into their shadows, they were so contaminated. He said, if they can be delivered, then people will take to the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he also said, then they will know I am really his servant. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to always establish Lord Nityananda as the worshipable personality, much to the display, like he did with Advaita Acharya as well. So this was the mood that Lord Nityananda approached with Haridas Thakur, these two drunken fellows. And their names were Jagai and Madai. So they approached, they very boldly, without any fear. People are like, what are these people doing? They're crazy. Are they nuts? They were hiding, just kind of watching what was about to ensue. You know, when a train wreck is happening, people want to watch like that. Modern day, that happened back then too. So they were kind of watching. And Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur approached Jagai and Madai. They couldn't even see their presence coming. They were so intoxicated and lost in their own banter that Lord Nityananda says, chant Krishna's names. Huh? And they weren't in the mood to receive such message. They were slightly perturbed. So they decided to chase and attack. Who are you to tell us to chant? Come here, we'll get you. And Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda begin to run away. Now, you can wonder why Lord Nityananda would run away. He is the all-powerful. He could do anything he wanted. But to enhance the pastime, he plays this pastime of running. Vrindavan Das Thakur explains that these two fat men who were drunk, now how are they going to keep up with these two? But he says that even though they really couldn't even walk, somehow they were able to keep up with them. And they were creating this mood of their being chased. So as they're running, Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur have some very funny exchanges. Haridas Thakur is very upset with Lord Nityananda. You are a madman, and you brought me here, and now my life is going to be shortened. How I can ever do this with you again? And Lord Nityananda says, me? It is your Lord who is acting like a king who should be a Brahmana and telling me to go preach door to door. You tell your Lord not to send me door to door preaching like this. And like this, they were having their little bantering, assigning blame, and they were running. And Haridas Thakur is an old man. At one point, he stopped. He said, I cannot go anymore. And Lord Nityananda says, come on, let's go, let's go. And like this, they finally run away. They create some distance. And those two men, Jagai and Madai, lost track. And so they returned home. And their mission was at the end of each day, they had to give their report. So they go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's house. And they give the report. What happened? And they said, we ran into these two people, Jagai and Madai, and they were drunk and they were killing animals and stealing and all kinds of things. And Chaitanya, who are these people? And Navadweep? Sons of Brahma? How could this? And then the devotees began to explain the character of Jagai and Madai. And he said, wow, these two people must be delivered. He says, I'll cut their throat if they'll not be delivered. Well, he actually said that about everyone. But he said later that they must be delivered. And Lord Nityananda says, that's great. But as long as they're here, I'm not going out anymore. I'm done. I'm done with this. And he gave up his card and said, I'm not going. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what are you talking about? The fact that they have had your darshan means they are already delivered. There is nothing more to do. They have received the mercy of you. They are delivered already. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very emphatically explained that Lord Nityananda's mercy is so powerful that just a moment's association, their deliverance was already guaranteed. And they said, in just a few short days, they'll be dancing with all of us. Jagai Madai? No way. So Haridas Thakur then goes to Advaita Acharya. He and Advaita Acharya are very close. And he really begins to lay into Advaita Acharya. And he's saying that you guys have set me out with this madman. Now, never again. Do you know the things that he does? And he began to narrate a long list of things Lord Nityananda would do on the preaching mission. You can see preaching is also fun. So Lord Nityananda would have some fun. He'll say, he'll go into the river Ganga and he'll swim with the crocodiles. And then he'll make me get him out. But I can't swim so fast. He can. And then when he comes out of the river, he starts pinching the boys and hitting them with sticks. And then their father comes and I have to fall at their feet and beg for forgiveness while he has run away. He'll go into the animal shed and he'll get on an ox and thinks he's Mahesha and riding around on the bull. And then he'll start drinking the milk from the cows before the calves have even drank. And then the elderly gopis will come with their sticks and chase me. And I'm always behind because I am old. And like this, I'm always cleaning up his messes. I am done. But today he took it to a whole new level. He brought me in the association of these two drunkards. And for that, I am now done. I'll never forget. I'm not risking my life like this. And Advaita Acharya, in a very transcendental, angry mood, says, what are you worried about? Why are you surprised? Drunkards hang out with drunkards. So 3 drunkards were together. But my question is why you as a celibate sannyasi were with them. And then he explains, Lord Nityananda was drunk on the ecstasy of Krishna Prema. Jagai and Madai were drunk on material intoxication. And so Advaita Acharya chastises Haridas Thakur in this way, and in this very sweet transcendental mood. They discuss how very confidently they are that these two would be delivered. Sometimes we wonder when we will be delivered. But as we see, and we'll see here, Jagai and Madai, there is no one more sinful on the planet. It's explained that Chitragupta was in charge of writing down all of one's sinful activities. He said, if I had 100,000 hands writing for 1 month, I could not exhaust. And Yamaraj, if you heard with 100,000 ears, still we could not get to the bottom of their sinful activities. So fallen were these two people. Yet we'll see how they are delivered by the utmost mercy of Lord Nityananda. So, one day, shortly after this incident, Lord Nityananda was returning home from a kirtan, and he ran into, again, Jagai and Madai. And this time, he was alone, and Madai had picked up his clay wine pot, and he smashed it on the head of Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda began to bleed from the forehead. And word spread very quickly that this had happened. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had become enraged. See, up until this point, they had not committed any Vaishnava aparadh. They had done all kinds of sinful activities, but they had not performed Vaishnava aparadh. And now they had. And to the beloved Lord Nityananda. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes running, calling for Chakra to come. Though he took a vow, he was here to destroy the miscreants with the powers of the holy names. At this point, he was ready to destroy Jagai and Madai. But Lord Nityananda, being so compassionate, he said, no. This Jagai, he actually stopped Madai from hitting me again. He is so sweet. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, really? And he blessed Jagai that you may have the benefit of devotional service in essence. And so Madai, seeing this, thinks, what about me? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I cannot tolerate the offenses against my devotee, against my Nityananda. And for that I can never forgive you. But who can forgive him? Lord Nityananda. So Madai then falls at the feet of Lord Nityananda, clasps onto his feet. Please forgive me. And Lord Nityananda, being very compassionate, picks him up, embraces him, and it is said that his mercy entered into the body of Madai. See, Lord Nityananda, when he was hit by the pot, did he have to wait for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come? With one blade of grass, he destroyed Romaharshana Sutta. He could have, even just with his mind, destroyed both Jagai and Madai. But his mission was not to destroy them. His mission was to destroy the anarthas and the impurities within them. That is the power of Lord Nityananda. How elevated the devotees Jagai and Madai became? Instantly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda embraced them, blessed them with pure devotional service. And from there, they took them home to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home, closed the door, and had very intimate, private association in Kirtan. All the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were gathered there. Gadadhar Pandit, Advaita Acharya, all the associates were there. And they were having ecstatic Kirtan. And who was there? Jagai and Madai. Just moments ago, they were the most fallen of the fallen, the most sinful. But because of the mercy of Lord Nityananda, they obtained the highest, most rarest, intimate association in the home of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and had this ecstatic experience. And from there, they went on to their whole life serving the devotees, assisting them in the bathing process in the river Ganges. They had established 2 bathing ghats, Jagai Ghat and Madai Ghat. And they were serving like this. So we see that Lord Nityananda's mercy knows no end. It is so compassionate. Whether it's begging door to door, dropping to his knees, begging us to chant, or even tolerating the attack from someone like Madai. So much mercy. And if we don't tap into that mercy, we have no hope for accessing the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, one cannot obtain the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings this song that we'll hear tomorrow. He says in his other very famous bhajan, this Haha Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi. This Nityananda, you're very happy and joyful. But me, he says, Kripa bolo kana karo, ami bolo dukhi. I am dukhi. I am very unhappy. Please, Lord Nityananda, give me your mercy so that I may become happy. And so he's asking for the blessings of Lord Nityananda. But then in the very next stanza, he says, how we obtain the mercy of Lord Nityananda? We need the mercy of Advaita Acharya. He says, Doyo koro sitapati Advaita Gosai. This Advaita Gosai, he can tava kripa. Give me the kripa, the mercy. Balepai of Chaitanya Nitai. So to receive the mercy of Chaitanya Nitai, we need the mercy of Advaita Acharya, whose appearance day was this past Monday. So like this, we can see the process of devotional service comes through Guru Parampara. And we need the mercy of all our previous acharyas to be able to access this highest realm of devotional service, which is this devotional service in the mood of the Vrindavan devotees. So we can pray to Lord Nityananda that may he also be very merciful to our Jagai Madai-like tendencies, and that he may shower his mercy. We see in this bhajan, this Nitai Pada Kamala, his lotus-like feet are Koti Chandra Shushitala, like the soothing moons, millions of soothing moons. So to soothe our existence in this material world, we pray to Lord Nityananda for his blessings and mercy. Thank you very much. Lord Nityananda Rama ki, Nityananda Triyodasi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nanta Koti Vaishnavinda. Any comments or discussions, questions? What is the next program? Yes.
I saw there on my Facebook one guru with the name Nityananda in India, not India. Who is guru nowadays with the name Nityananda? Should be the incarnation of the Lord Nityananda in this case?
No.
It is the incarnation of the Lord.
No, there are presently no incarnations of Lord Nityananda or any of the associates, but different spiritual personalities will take on the names of these great personalities as their servant. So you'll always see, Das at the end of the name, representing that we are the servant of Lord Nityananda. So there may be some spiritual personality with such name. But that is a name in the mood of devotion to that personality. Thank you very much for your question. Any other questions?